as we bring in Brenden Whitted, my friend, NBA analyst, expert, League Pass Lair, all of that, at HU Cosell on Twitter.
I like the expert, Tyler.
You're such an expert. So, look, I mean, you know more about the NBA than, like, any 4 people I know. So, if I'm Brooklyn, tell me that this is wrong. If I am Brooklyn, I say no to the first offer of Jaylen Brown plus parts, because if I'm giving up Durant, then I want Tatum back, because I see those as Tatum's not Durant, but I see those as the same type of player.
Absolutely.
So, am I wrong? If I'm Brooklyn, that's the guy that needs to be part of the package.
That's the guy they want. They're not going to get him, though. I think that everybody's very well aware that you're not getting Tatum. When Durant came on as, hey, he might be available, that, he's untouchable label got reduced by a lot of people. A lot of people, he's untouchable. He's a part of a linchpin of our squad. Nah, once Durant's on the table, there's very few folks that you're not willing to trade for. I think Tatum is one of those guys, in part because he's so young. Obviously, he's just 19. No, it's an NBA joke. But no, like that he's so much younger. Durant, you're going to get him for the duration of his peak. The rest of his peak for the next 3 years, you're getting it. But I don't think the Celtics are willing to mortgage their entire future. But honestly, if I'm Boston, everybody outside of Tatum can go. You know what I mean? Like, because ultimately it comes down to this. Do you think that Tatum and Brown are going to be great players together? Mm-hmm. If so, then don't pull the trigger and you got 2 great players. Fantastic. Right now, you don't have any great players if you're Boston. You have some very, very good players that guys on those, like the penultimate step of being a superstar. But you don't have those. And the last time you saw a team win a championship without a superstar was that Chauncey Billups Pistons team. That was a long time ago.
It was.
And those are few and far between. You have to have a great player. Celtics don't have one right now.
All right, so let me play devil's advocate, because you just said that Brown and Tatum together are not yet individually great players or superstar level players. I think they're great players, but not necessarily superstar level players. And the proof of that is that there was way too much up and down in both of their games throughout the playoffs. A healthy Kevin Durant with options around him, you're going to get 30, 35 every stinking night. So if you get 3 years of Durant, like, I love Tatum too, and there's a 10-year age gap between Durant and Tatum. I love Tatum too, but if I'm Boston, if it gets me Durant, I kind of think about it, but I'm not giving you anything else. You get Tatum, we get Durant, and we all move on.
And that's what colors a lot of this stuff when it comes to Durant, specifically with the Nets. They gave away so many of their draft picks to get Harden, right? Yes. And so now, not only do they want to be competitive right now, they also need to refill their future assets. That combined with what Rudy Gobert got, which is okay, that was the most ridiculous trade. It still doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the haul that Utah was able to get, shout out to Danny Ainge, he's done it again. The haul that they were able to get for Rudy Gobert. So that's the market now. Rudy Gobert, who is not the player that Kevin Durant is. So that market, no, right. It's not, and it's not close. It's not a conversation. It's done. So if he got that, I'm getting more than even just Tatum. I'm giving you a top 5 superstar right now. You can get a championship with him right now. I need a lot. And that's what the Nets did. The problem is, one of the problems, in addition to the Nets being in this, they leverage themselves so much for Harden. The other part, the other problem is that you don't know what's going on with Kyrie. Like, there's so many.
Gosh, they'd move Kyrie in a second, wouldn't they?
They would, but I mean, again, he's on a 1-year deal. Right. You don't know what you're getting for, like, they have, I don't know. And then the other part is, you could just run it back. If you're telling me right now that if Kevin Durant came in and said, my bad, let's dead all of this, I can't wait to start training camp. Mm-hmm. You're telling me that Brooklyn wouldn't run that back? Because they certainly would. That's the other thing. I don't think that they really, really want to move on from Durant. You have Durant, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons in the building right now.
Right. No,
I mean,
look,
that's as good as it gets this side of Milwaukee.
and I'm with you in the look. You know me. I'm not a Ben Simmons guy. I'm not. But what Simmons would provide them is an elite defender, somebody who didn't need to shoot because he doesn't want to shoot. So it would leave more shots for Kyrie and Durant. Those shots would not be being taken by James Harden. And some of their other players would also be able to blossom. So you got Joe Harris coming back off injury, right? Not to mention some of the other guys that we saw, whether it's was it Cam Thomas?
I was about to say Cam Thomas made first team summer league
right.
this year. Like,
I love him.
He looks like the next guy up. You know what I mean? Like,
So,
you can, if you literally just look at that team as constructed, don't touch anything, don't trade nobody. Right now, I can make a case for them being the most talented team in the East right now. It's hard to break that up for the possibility of some. The other problem is Durant didn't do this until after the draft. And that really, I feel like if he did this, I think July 1st was when it at least became public. I don't know, obviously, the inner workings of the organization, but that's when it becomes public. That's a week and a half after the draft. Man, you hamstrung them so much on top of giving them a short list of teams that you wanted to deal with. Like, it's like the market, you kind of murdered the market and doing it this late and only having this many teams. Your market is going to be thinner than it normally would if they were willing to, if Durant had been like, you know what, I just need to get out of Brooklyn. Anywhere is fine. I think you'd have a much different marketplace than the one they find now. I
mean, if Kyrie is back, and I don't know that Kyrie is back, he just took the money because he's very unreliable as a person. I mean, we all understand this. And last I checked, Canada has still not changed any rules. Right. By the way, the St. Louis Cardinals just went up to play the Blue Jays for 2 games, I think today and tomorrow, without their 2 best players, Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt, who, I don't know, can't find a CVS or a Walgreens anywhere near where they live. So they're not going to play in Canada. All right, let me move on from Durant. I agree. I actually think there's a better chance that Durant, Kyrie are back in Brooklyn this year than they're not. So Donovan Mitchell is the lone remaining player of any redeeming quality for the Utah Jazz. They gotta move him. The Knicks are interested, but here's what I don't get about from a Knicks perspective. And I've always mentioned this. I used to be a Knicks fan. I don't really care. They're more of a sideshow at this point. But I don't understand why the Knicks are pursuing Mitchell, who would be an upgrade over anybody they've got. But they have so many shooting guards. They just signed another shooting guard in Jalen Brunson. He's not a point guard, really. He's more of
he's going to be He's going to be initiating a lot of their stuff. As much as you can believe in positions now, anyway, you don't give that kind of guy that sort of money to come off the bench for sure.
But he's a shooter,
their point guard.
right? But he's a shooter, right?
He is.
So he's a shooter. RJ Barrett's a shooter. Not necessarily a maker, but he's a shooter. I like RJ. I'm just making a joke. Evan Fournier is a shooter, right? So if you bring in Donovan Mitchell, one of those 3 has to go. It's not going to be Brunson because you just signed him.
Right.
And if I'm Utah, well, you're going to give me Barrett out of those 3 anyway.
I mean, you still have Randall. I mean, Randall is still a major. It's funny. I know a good number of Knicks fans, and it kind of feels like everybody got off the Randall train at the same time, even after a couple years ago gave one of the better seasons that a Knicks player has given anybody. And it's just, I was like, wow, everybody just kind of fell out of favor with Randall all at one time because I'm still a Randall fan. Now, I wholeheartedly agree with you on this. They have a whole bunch of play finishers, not many play initiators. They don't really have a point guard like that you can just, hey, I'm going to distribute, make sure everybody's in the right place, get them get the ball in their most advantageous places to score. That the Knicks don't have, and I don't understand. Honestly, I didn't understand the hard press for Brunson. I wonder sometimes if being in New York, especially now with Brooklyn as a crosstown rival for all intents and purposes, I wonder if being in New York,
they share the same zip code.
Yeah, I mean, they're around. Like it's a rival. They be around and stuff. But I wonder if that sometimes the pressure of being in New York is too much for the front office to say, hey, we can just be good and like develop players as opposed to let's go out and go get this free agent. Let's go, we're gonna get Kemba Walker's number off the books. We're gonna get Alec Burks' number off the books. Alec Burks had a pretty solid year for him. He was healthy for the for first time in his career.
But again, another shooter though.
Yeah, but we're going to get off these contracts so that we have all of this money to make a big free agent splash. And the big free agent splash is Jalen Brunson.
I mean, they just brought in a good player, right?
Yeah, and I like Jalen Brunson. I don't know if he's the guy, right? Like, I mean, you bring in a guy like that for free agency, it feels like he should be the guy. And I still don't know if he's better than Randall or RJ. And so Donovan Mitchell would then give them that splash. But the numbers kind of get tossed around in terms of the draft picks that will be involved, the swaps, the future picks. Hey, man, like between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, Utah had both of them and they ain't go nowhere. So I don't understand this rush to just give away every single asset to get those guys. I like Donovan Mitchell. I like Rudy Gobert. Both of them have holes in their games. And I just don't understand giving away the whole farm to get guys that are like good players. They're a good player. Are they going to make you a great? If they were to make the Mitchell trade now, they're going to lose some current assets and future ones. And I still don't think that they're a top 4 team in the East.
And that's my point. I was having this conversation. Actually, you were part of the conversation on Twitter today, and our friend Kanata Edwards was part of this as well. I actually responded to him because I think the Knicks, as they are currently constructed, I think the Knicks will compete for the play-in tournament. They'll compete for 10. And if you compete, I mean, they finished 11th last year, right? Yeah. If you compete for 11.
I'd like to say they'll be better. I thought they underperformed last year.
I did too.
I thought they overperformed the year before. I thought they underperformed last year. I think they'll probably end up somewhere 6 or 7. You know what I mean? I think
that would be amazing. But I think they'll
comfortably make the playoffs.
I think they'll compete for the play-in tournament. You know, I'll just say 10. And if you're competing for 10, then you're competing for 8. But getting in the top 6 is a different animal. And I don't think they're good enough to get in the top 6. And I sure as hell don't think they're good enough with Mitchell to get all the way over that bar either. So my point is, why?
Because New York. Honestly,
I
that's
really the only answer. Because Spike Lee.
You need that, though.
Isn't Mitchell a New York guy?
Is he?
I think.
I actually don't know where.
I think Mitchell's a New York kid.
Poorly assumed he was from Louisville, but like that's a terrible way to do this because just because he went to college there, that's a terrible way to do this.
But like he's at Louisville, that's not a terrible thing.
He would be a big time star though. Like he would be. I would think he would be a bigger star than like Randall and RJ, certainly than Jalen Brunson. I mean, because this is a business. You want to sell some tickets. You want to, get some hype around your squad. You're in New York. And, maybe it's a little hard to put Jalen Brunson's face on, season tickets. You know what I mean? Like you do need that. And that's not a shot at Jalen Brunson. It's just like most people did. He was a backup. You know what I mean? This is a dude that was a backup on a good Dallas Mavericks team, but still a backup. You're still a reserve player for all intents and purposes. And so, like, I think that New York feels that pressure to be, hey, we got to be New York. Like, because what do we see every offseason? Whenever New York gets a little bit of cap room, they're going to make a play for LeBron. They're going to make a play for Giannis. Oh, KD's coming. It's always something. Like, it's always sold, never told. You know what I mean? Like, they're always over here overselling how much of a destination spot that New York is, which is, I think that's one of the more interesting things that we never kind of talk about. Utah has to build through the draft.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to build through free agency because ain't nobody trying to live in Salt Lake.
Nobody. It's beautiful though. Have you gone?
No.
It's legitimately beautiful. I recommend it.
And I believe that. However, at no point in my life have I ever been like, you know where I should live? Salt Lake City.
I have. You and I feel the same way.
Right. The thought has never crossed my mind, right? And so for certain places, you have to be able to build through the draft. Charlotte is finding this out too, right? I thought Michael Jordan being the owner of the franchise would mean more in terms of, hey, I get a chance to play for Michael Jordan, the shoes I grew up with, the guy I grew up idolizing. I thought that would literally be a pull point. I was dead wrong. I could not have been more wrong about that. And so you have the same reason that Charlotte outbid everyone. 4 years, $30 million a year for Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward is worth $120. Yeah, because you got to pay that tax of I got to bring somebody to a destination that they otherwise would not be. That's a huge part of free agency that I don't ever feel like gets talked about enough.
I totally agree. By the way, he is from Westchester, just outside of New York City. So there you go.
All right, so I'm going to ask New York. Do they consider that New York?
No. That would work.
Okay.
For their purposes, it would absolutely work. Plus, the Knicks training facility is in Westchester.
Okay.
And I think their G League team is also in Westchester. Not that Donovan Mitchell would be a candidate to play on the G League team. At HU Cosell, Brenden Whitted, my friend, League Pass Lair, NBA expert guru. My friend, we'll talk to you later.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
You